What do these big brands, including Samsung, Hyundai, and LG, have in common? They're all chaebols, which are large South Korean conglomerates that are usually run by one single family with total assets that exceed 5 trillion won. There are more than 80 chaebols in South Korea in 2023, and the revenue of the 10 biggest accounted for almost 60% of South Korea's GDP in 2021. That's more than $1 trillion. I'm now in Seoul, South Korea, to talk to some experts to really understand the significance of the chaebol.
It is very powerful, this big conglomerate.
Chaebols, there have been a lot of high-profile scandals, high-profile controversies.
Almost all Korean chaebol, there are huge lists.
Too many to identify. These right here are the top 5 chaebols in South Korea right now. Samsung leads the pack. These sprawling business dynasties have helped transform South Korea's economy from one of the poorest in the 1960s to one of the largest exporters in the world. Despite this remarkable growth, there are calls for change and innovation to propel South Korea forward. I reached out to multiple chaebols for comment, but none have replied to me.
Hi, my name is Sang-in Park. I'm a professor of economics at Graduate School of Public Administration.
You have been a very vocal critique. A lot of big corporations. Have you had any backlash?
So far, I haven't received any physical or other kind of threat from them. Instead, they offer me a lot of carrots.
A lot of carrots instead of the stick.
Yes.
Would you be comfortable telling us what is that in the formal?
Well, in terms of some, helping out some set up certain, institution or offering some position as a director of certain organization, something like that.
What has your response been?
I basically told them there might be a lot of people who will be interested in that kind of position or job. I'm not one of them.
The average Korean citizen's perspective on chaebols is very different from the international perspective.
The general Korean people has a very mixed feeling about Korean chaebol. All accept that Korean chaebol became the de facto political power and the gatekeeper of our society.
For one thing, they did a good job for the country. They also create many jobs for the people.
Tae Ho Bak is a trade expert who served as South Korea's trade minister in 2011.
The history, origin of our Korean conglomerate started with the government management. At that time, the leader of the country, Park Chung-hee, he asked all the ministry, even directly to the general public, if you export anything, you can do. Huh?
The first manufacturing item was a wig to someone in New York.
Yeah, made of real hair. So people start to export anything. And then later, more light manufacturing sector, like clothing and shoes and hats. We did that for 10 years, 60s. We are quite successful, still very poor. So Park Chung-hee, the president at the time, thought that maybe we cannot continue like this. We have to do something heavy. Many international organizations laugh at this. How can you do this in so poor country? Hyundai, Samsung, LG, the leaders coming in and they meet with the president.
Park Chung-hee, South Korea's third president, implemented a plan to pull the country out of poverty. He selected 5 export-oriented sectors available for government subsidies: electronics, shipbuilding, machinery, petrochemicals, and non-ferrous metals. This was called the Heavy Chemical Industry Drive, and it planted the seed for companies in South Korea to grow.
The government intervened the financial market as a kind of intermediary. They borrow the money from abroad with guarantee and etc. And then they allocate the money to the big business group or big firms with some industry targeting.
Where was this money coming from?
Usually private foreign banks. UK, Barclays, for example, they lend the money to Chairman Chung of Hyundai so that they can build a shipbuilding yard.
Korean chaebol became very big as a consequence of success of rapid economic growth in 60s and 70s.
Government doesn't allow foreign investment to come in the sector these firms are operating. Export is promoted, but no imports in the same sector.
In 1960, South Korea's GDP was less than $4 billion. By 1979, that number had monumentally jumped to almost $67 billion. However, in October 1979, Park Chung-hee was assassinated.
There was a big movement for political democratization in Korea. Korean Jaewol became more powerful because the political check and balance has been loosened. Due to the financial liberalization, Korean big Jaewol can finance by themselves using the insurance companies and security companies, etc., etc. And so they became very independent from the influence of the policy itself or the bureaucrats' control.
In 1981, the country's regulatory authority for economic competition, the Korea Fair Trade Commission, was established.
That's in the middle of Han River, so it's basically the heart of Korean business and finance and politics.
Sang Buk-jo is a finance professor at the Seoul National University.
Except the 3-year period that I was serving as a chairperson for the Korean Fair Trade Commission during the Moon Jae-in presidency.
What is the main role of the Korea Fair Trade Commission?
Basically in charge of competition law. It is governing the big business group and also some of the SME related issues and consumer protection related issues.
What have been some high-profile challenges during your tenure?
So one of the cases involved large business groups such as Samsung or SK. And also we had multinational corporation cases, Google, Apple, and GTT. At the same time, because the economy changing and transforming to digital economy, we also have cases regarding these big platform companies, Naver and Kakao and Coupang.
Despite chaebols monopolizing much of the country's wealth, startups in South Korea are catching up. Due in part to an increasing government investment, it's creating more jobs and competition within the economy. Between 2020 and 2023, the number of non-real estate startups in South Korea grew by 12% to hit more than 581,000 companies. Some recent startups are putting South Korea on the map as well, like messaging platform Kakao and e-commerce website Coupang.
Each year, FTC discloses the large business groups. And now, Coupang and Kakao and Naver, they are considered to be kind of large business groups. Throughout 60, 70 years, Korea has been growing fast and developing very fast. And during this development process, Jaewol actually helped a lot. They have invested a lot in technological advancement and also created many talented human resources.
However, there might be an economic reckoning taking place. Anti-chaebol sentiment here has been brewing for years, fueled by several corruption and financial scandals that involve heads of these South Korean corporations. A lot of these chiefs, Samsung, LG, they have been pardoned for their crimes. Why does this keep happening?
They can influence the decision-making of the court, media, and the policy. I have a Korean book and
You keep track of all the names that have been pardoned.
More than 2 pages long.
To see that book.
It is called, in Korea, 3-5 rule. So that means whatever the crime it is, the family of the Korean Jaewol will be sentenced to 3 years in prison with 5-year probation. Because in the law of the Korea, 3-year imprisonment is the maximum amount of the imprisonment year to get suspended sentence.
This means that a convicted person can serve his sentence through a probationary period. Each chaebol, we're seeing there's so many different subsidiaries. A few of them have over 100 affiliated companies, and none of them have anything to do with what the chaebol began with in this first place.
They use those unrelated business and company for the controllers on private benefit taking. Basically, exploit the minority shareholders' money in certain company, and they try to tunnel them profit to the other company in which the owner family has bigger cash flow rights. This kind of tunneling and the related party transactions are so pervasive in Korea so now.
Despite there being some reforms within chaebols, certain traditions, such as only male members of the family being allowed to lead the company, still persist.
One of the things that we noticed is there's this family succession.
Don Sutherton is a consultant specializing in Korean companies and business culture.
Globally, there are many other models around the world where there are families that are able to go multi-generational. In the States, we could look at one point IBM or Ford, or if you look at the Porsches in Germany.
In the average Korean household, families prefer sons over daughters, but things could be changing. Important thing is whoever becomes the head of these big business groups, whether the person will be actually serving the best interest for the company and how the company's long-term sustainability will be achieved.
As we've moved into the third generation, many of this third generation are very successful, and they have taken the group and they've been able to transform that into something new that is very applicable today in the world. With Hyundai as a case study, they're moving what we call into the smart mobility. What is that going to be in the future? Develop your brand in Korea, have a high success level, and take it overseas. And we see that with Samsung with electronics and LG with appliances. The Korean government also wants to see job creation, moving into new sectors, to have more green companies meet their carbon reduction goals. It's in line with the Korean government.
When I left the Korean Fair Trade Commission, I felt that I did my best. There is a political pressure, media attention, and these companies hire lawyers who know how to delay legal proceedings. I think we have showed that we do not give in outside pressure.
What is your hope?
For the Korean economy, I want a Korean economy and Korean companies to grow and flourish, not abusing their market power, not like self-serving actions, so that they can attract talented people around the world to work for them.
We have the maturing of the Korean population. So a lot of startups today are people who have worked in their career for one of the other major big groups, and they want to go and use their knowledge and their expertise. We see that occurring, along with the new generation who really don't want to work for the large groups.
Global reform of Korea is necessary for Korea to move into that direction in the future.
In the next 5 years, do you see that happening?
There is a big question, and it depends on the political situation. But for now, I'm not optimistic.